Well, good evening. Hope everyone is having a nice Sunday, wrapping up a good weekend, I hope. Um, and here a couple seconds early just to kind of go through my um, pre-class ritual. Now, I do this for every class. You don't see it every time because sometimes I do it off camera. But first thing I do is I take my bottle of Valor essential oil here, and I take a drop of that, put it on my finger, and then I rub that on my brainstem. Valor, to me, is liquid courage. So this is always a nice thing to have because it is pretty darn wonderful. Smells good too. And then the next oil that I put on is a blend called White Angelica. And this is more for protection, kind of a spiritual protection thing. If you're into the spiritual stuff and the spiritual effects of essential oils, which I'm not saying there aren't, and I'm not saying there are. I'm just saying I like it, I use it. That's that's how it goes. Welcome to Soaring Hawk Studios. There it is, such as it is. This is where I do my voice recording for Soaring Hawk VoiceWorks, and it's also where we're going to be doing our classes for Soaring Hawk Essential Oils Information Station. I hope everyone is having a wonderful night. Tonight we are going to be talking about brain power, a look at the limbic system. One more thing before I get started. I got to do this. I've had a long day. I need some zing. This is the best stuff. Now there's some naturally occurring caffeine in here, but it does not keep me awake. I love the flavor, and the caffeine, no effect on me. Now, if I were having a Pepsi or a Coke or an RC at this time of night, yeah, I'd be tossing and turning all night, but zing? No problem. I love the blackberry and lime in there. Wonderful. Now, before I get started, I have to say this. This information is not meant to treat, diagnose, cure, or prevent any disease. The information represents what I, an independent distributor of Young Living Essential Oils, have chosen to do to take charge of my own personal health and that of my family. And I also need to remember to swallow the zing before I start doing the disclaimer. There we go. Got it. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. If you are pregnant, nursing, taking medication, or have a medical condition, please consult your physician before using these products. And I know what your physician's going to say, but we won't get in. That's a class all on its own. So we are Jay and Lori Hawk. I'm the Jay Hawk part. My wife Lori is my partner in this little operation we have called Soaring Hawk Essential Oils. We live in a somewhat rural agricultural area in Oregon, about 25 miles west of Portland, little town called Banks. Now, we've been using Young Living Essential Oils, supplements, and products since early 2015, and our passion is to let our friends and family know about the remarkable difference these little bottles of wellness have made in our lives. And I was the biggest skeptic there was. Honestly, I was for a long time. And it was out of desperation that we finally said yes to a friend, cousin, who offered us some essential oils. And now even my doctors are amazed at the turnaround, at the 180 that my health has done. They ran out of answers for all the questions I had. Now they've got questions for me because I'm so much better and above the wellness line and not seeing them all the time. So that's a real testament to the power of essential oils. Now, what is the limbic system? Brain power. A look inside the limbic system. Now, if you're expecting like a college professor to get, the limbic system is also called the paleomammalian cortex, which, no, that's not how I do classes. I'm a goofball. But the old professor was right. The limbic system is sometimes referred to as the paleomammalian cortex. And it's a part of the brain that supports a variety of functions, including emotion, behavior, motivation, long-term memory, and olfaction. Olfaction is your sense of smell. Now, emotional life is largely housed in the limbic system. In fact, it critically aids the formation of memories. Now let's take a look at a brain here. Yes, there are graphics in this too. Wow, Yeah, I went all out here. Okay, now, this is the brain. And in this area here, you have kind of the brain stem area down there. And all the limbic system functions, like the hippocampus and the thalamus and the hypothalamus and the amygdala and all those things, all those are part of this area, and that is right at the base of the central nervous system. So that's why it's called the paleomammalian cortex, because mammals, of which humans are, most anyway, I know some that are pretty reptilian, it's all right there, because most animals have a brainstem and not much else above it. Well, humans have the limbic system at the base of the brain, and that really helps. It's involved in our behavioral and our emotional responses, especially when it comes to behaviors we need for survival, such as feeding and reproduction and caring for our young and the fight or flight responses. Those are all part of the limbic system. Now, you can find the structures of the limbic system buried deep within the brain, as we just showed on that graphic. It's underneath the cerebral cortex and above the brainstem. It's considered to be part of the forebrain, which is more advanced in humans than any other animals. Now, the thalamus, the hypothalamus, the basal ganglia, and the cingulate gyrus are also involved in the actions of the limbic system. But two of the major structures are the hippocampus and the amygdala. So let's begin with those two parts, shall we? Let me get another sip of zing here. Doing the old professor voice. Rough that up a bit. Okay, the hippocampus. Like many structures of the brain, the hippocampus comes as a pair. There's one in each hemisphere of the brain. You've got one on the left side, one on the right side. So there are two hippocampi. Well, it just comes in a pair. It resembles the shape of a curvy seahorse, hence the name, hippocampus. That is Latin for seahorse. So that's the scientific name right there. And it's essentially the memory center of our brain. Now here, our episodic memories are formed and cataloged to be filed away in long-term storage across other parts of the cerebral cortex. So in other words, it goes into the hippocampus, the memories are formed, and then it's like you've got a little messenger here who says, okay, well, I'm going to file this here, I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to put this in this part of the cerebral cortex. That's where your memories go. Now, according to research at the Queensland Brain Institute at the University of Queensland in Australia, connections made in the hippocampus also help us associate memories with various senses, like the association between Christmas and the scent of spruce, fir, or pine. That could be forged in that area of your brain. The hippocampus is also important for spatial orientation and our ability to navigate in the world. Okay? So it's really important that you have a healthy hippocampus, because if you don't, you may not be walking very straight. You may not be able to communicate well. Your memories may be lapsing. Things like that can happen with your hippocampus. The hippocampus is one site in the brain where new neurons are made from adult stem cells. Now, this process is called neurogenesis and is the basis of one type of brain plasticity. So it's not surprising this is a key brain structure for learning new things, because all these neurons, they're like the files of memory. And that's what goes into the brain from the hippocampus. Very important. Next step, the amygdala. The amygdala is number 2 on the list. And the name amygdala refers to its almond shape. It's kind of shaped like a little almond. It's located right next to the hippocampus. The left and the right amygdalae. That's plural. There's 2, just like the hippocampus, right brain, left brain thing, right? Correct. Well, they play a central role in our emotional responses, including feelings like pleasure, fear, anxiety, anger. Yeah, that's all part of the amygdala's doing. Now, the amygdala also attaches emotional content to our memories. So it plays a very important part in determining how robust these memories really are and how they're stored. Memories that have strong emotions tend to stick longer. Wouldn't you agree with that? The amygdala doesn't just modify the strength and emotional content of memories, it also plays a key role in forming new memories specifically related to fear. Yeah, because of fear. Now, fearful memories are able to be formed after only a few repetitions. This makes fear learning a very popular way to investigate the mechanisms of memory formation, consolidation, and recall. Now, researchers at the Queensland Brain Institute that we've talked about earlier, they have confirmed that new neurons are also made in the amygdala, not just the hippocampus. So those are two very key areas of the limbic system to get those memories and get those emotions in check. Let's check on the thalamus, shall we? Now, the thalamus, as we kind of go back to our diagram here, the thalamus is right there. Okay, there's the thalamus, right in that part, kind of at the top of the brainstem area. It's a small structure within the brain located just above the brainstem, between the cerebral cortex and the midbrain, and has an extensive nerve connections to both. The main function of the thalamus is to relay motor and sensory signals to the cerebral cortex. It also regulates sleep and alertness and wakefulness. Now, the thalamus is crucial for perception, with 98% of all sensory input being relayed by the thalamus. The only sensory information that is not relayed by the thalamus into the cerebral cortex is information related to smell, otherwise called olfaction. All right? Another part, the hypothalamus. Okay, let me check my list here. Hypothalamus is like right down there. Okay, the thalamus is there. Hypothalamus is right about there. All right? Yeah, I went all out with the graphics tonight, didn't I? All right, the hypothalamus has a really big job. It connects the nervous system to the endocrine system via the pituitary gland, which is right next to the hypothalamus. It's responsible for the regulation of certain metabolic processes and other activities of the autonomic nervous system. Now, it synthesizes and secretes certain neurohormones called releasing hormones or hypothalamic hormones, and these in turn stimulate or inhibit the secretion of hormones from the pituitary gland. Now, the hypothalamus controls body temperature. It controls hunger, important aspects of parenting and attachment behaviors, like loving your children. That's all part of the hypothalamus in there. Thirst, fatigue, sleep, and circadian rhythms. Now, circadian rhythms, that's the process that controls the body's sleep-wake cycle. For an old overnight DJ, that's really screwed up. Trust me. Another part of the brain for that is the basal ganglia. Now, the basal ganglia is kind of all over the place in there because it's made up of several parts. There are a group of structures found deep within the cerebral hemispheres. The structures generally included in the basal ganglia are the caudate, the putamen, and the globus pallidus in the cerebellum, and also the substantia nigra in the midbrain, and the subthalamic nucleus in the diencephalon. Now, what that means, translating here, it means this. It means it's in here, all right? All those words, they're all the Latin and stuff, yeah. It's nice to know, but that's not the key. Now, see, the separate nuclei of the basal ganglia all have extensive roles in their own in the brain, but they're also interconnected with one another, and they kind of form a network, almost like a web, that is thought to be involved in a variety of cognitive, emotional, and movement-related functions. Another part of the limbic system in the human brain is the cingulate gyrus. Now, the cingulate gyrus is responsible for coordinating smells and sights with pleasant memories. This is a very important part of your brain because just imagine if you couldn't associate a certain smell with a certain memory. I mean, I'm sure there are several going through your head right now that you could think of. Well, recently, the cingulate gyrus has become the subject of many cognitive and neurocognitive studies, and it's been implicated in Alzheimer's disease, in anxiety disorders, addiction, depression, bipolar disorder, and schizophrenia, just to name a few. That's all part of the cingulate gyrus, because that's where it's all kind of stemming from. It works in tandem with the amygdala and when it comes to forming memories. So those two are really important for memories. So now that we know, or at least now that we've heard about what is the limbic system and what creates the limbic system and what is contained in the limbic system, how does the limbic system concern essential oils? Yeah, you're wondering when I was going to get to that. Now is when I'm going to get to that. Remember at the beginning of the session when we talked about olfaction, the sense of smell? The olfactory system is kind of the super highway that connects aromas to the limbic system in the brain. It goes right up here, into there. Boom. It's there. In just a matter of nanoseconds, it's there. And that's where the chemical compounds of the scent are analyzed in no time flat. These aromatic compounds trigger memory, emotions, fight or flight reaction, and other responses like that. Like if you smell fresh baked bread, or how about snickerdoodle cookies? Ooh. Oh, just thinking about that really smells good. And if you have a memory or two that corresponds to that aroma, that's going to kick in the limbic system. Using different essential oils can cause your brain to bring up memories and emotions like that. These memories also can conjure up emotions, be they happy, sad, angry, peaceful, resentful, appreciative. All those emotions all tied together. It's all in here. It's all, I hate to say it, it's all in your head. It is. They're real, but they're still in your head. Using Christmas as an example again, because that is coming up in a couple months, and it is my favorite time of year, honestly. The smell of certain conifers can make us recall searching for that perfect Christmas tree out on a Christmas tree farm when we were kids, and the anticipation of Christmas morning, just by smelling certain trees. From personal experience, I can attest that a blend Young Living has called Christmas Spirit, which is right here, which I also happen to have going in that little diffuser, which is there, that little glowy thing right there. Not there, that's a light. That's my Feather the Owl diffuser that I've got in my studio. I've got Christmas Spirit going in that because I absolutely love this blend. And why not? It's a blend of spruce, orange, and cinnamon bark. The aroma makes me think of very happy times spent with my family back in Iowa growing up around the Christmas seasons. You know, things like, I somehow think back to like 1970 when I was 7 years old, and most of you weren't even born yet. That's the year my dad built a model train table for me and set up a train. And Christmas morning, I went downstairs and there it was. Man, that just, the smell of the tree, that's in there. The smell of the apple cider that Mom was making, that's in there. The oranges that were in our Christmas stocking, that was in there. I never understood why oranges were in our Christmas stocking, but they were. But all those smells are in Christmas Spirit. And that's the memory that comes up for me when I diffuse Christmas Spirit. I think back to 1970. So yeah, these things have a long shelf life. The memories up here, well, the oils do too. So it's a blend I choose to diffuse a lot throughout the year for positive feelings. Now, some aromas don't exactly have positive emotions attached to them. Now, we mentioned the fight or flight reaction, and that can be affected by within the limbic system. Now, think of how you react when you come across a dead skunk in the middle of the road. Dead skunk in the middle of the road, stinking up the high heaven. Okay, my apologies to Loudon Wainwright III for stealing his song lyric there, but man, you pass a skunk that didn't make it across the road, and you look at your spouse or whoever happens to be in the car with you, and it's like, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. And then you just, you get that feeling. Okay. That is the flight. You want to get away from it. You're like, you turn your head no matter which way. The aroma is still there, but you turn your head. You try to get away. Or, that's the flight action in your brain when you get a negative feeling in the limbic system from a bad olfactory experience. Dead skunk. Or you open a Tupperware container that's been in your fridge for Lord knows how long, probably from the Reagan administration, and you have no idea what that fuzzy stuff in there. It could be pasta primavera, could be meatloaf, you don't know. And that's just like, it's again the fight or flight. You're repulsed by it. Okay, now you get the point with that, right? Now, you remember the Disney Pixar movie that came out a few years ago called Inside Out? This is not a plug for Disney Pixar, but it's a really good film. It's about the inner workings of a young girl's brain while going through a series of life events. Her brain is like an office. It's portrayed as an office with certain workers spend their time there. There's joy, there's anger, fear, disgust, and sadness. You've got those 5, and they all vie for a chance to control the girl's thoughts, emotions, and memories, and actions. While not scientifically what I would call an accurate depiction of what the brain is like, because the brain really does look like this, and it doesn't look like an office with a control board, but it's kind of fun to imagine that it is. It shows how the brain works with emotions and memory recall. It's a vivid depiction of how emotions and memory are tied together and how outside influences can trigger those feelings. And a major outside influencer is olfaction, the sense of smell. Okay? Young Living has formulated so mthat blends for specific emotional purposes. Now, we have a very separate session on emotional oils. It's one that stands alone. We've had it, so we won't dig too deeply into that tonight. But we'd be remiss not to mention a few blends since we are discussing emotions. Now, there are blends that Young Living has called Joy, Peace and Calming, Harmony, Awaken, Release, Forgiveness, Motivation, Stress Away, and of course, my favorite, Christmas Spirit. Yeah, got to have my Christmas spirit with me at all times. And there are several others that are excellent tools to have in your emotional wellness kit. If you want to bring the outdoors indoors, well, try diffusing some conifer oils like pine, Idaho Grand Fir. You've got cedarwood, hinoki, cypress, hongquai, and my go-to, Northern Lights Black Spruce. I love this one. This is so good. It's a little boost of manliness, rugged outdoor kind of, makes you want to camp in the woods. So if you want a boost of brightness on a cloudy day, we had a gray, rainy day here in Oregon. Well, it's October. It's about when it happens, and it keeps going till about, April. But diffuse some citrus oils like lemon, orange, grapefruit, tangerine. My go-to is Jade Lemon. Jade Lemon is my favorite citrus oil. Has kind of a lemon lime aroma to it. Really, really wonderful stuff. So if you need to relax and rewind after certain situations that are stressful or hurtful, use lavender, cedarwood, vetiver. Vetiver is a great one for relaxing. Valerian, and my go-to, Stress Away. Does what it says. Yeah, it says Stress Away on the label. That's what it does. You open it up, you're just like this. I love that. You can smell copaiba, you can smell lime, a little bit of lavender, and there's vanilla in there too. So this is the good stuff. It really is the good stuff. Now, all these oils can help adjust your mental state and bring you out of what my grandmother used to call it a deep blue funk. Yeah, that's kind of how she talked too. It's a deep blue funk if you're not feeling good. Now, oils can trigger memories, whether happy or sad, and that affects your emotions. The molecules that make up the essential oils contain all natural chemicals that reach into our limbic system through the olfactory system. Okay, it's like through the old nose, just go right up there. Okay, got that? It goes right up there. Olfactory system goes into there, boom, into the limbic system. That's how you get your memories and your emotions just from sniffing a bottle of oil. That's how it works. Yes, there are pharmaceuticals as well as legal and illegal drugs that can alter the brain as far as memory and emotions as well. I choose not to recommend those, honestly. I mean, if I was given the opportunity to choose, which I am actually, if I wanted to, I could go to my doctor and say, I'm really feeling down. Can you prescribe me something? Chances are he would. Yeah, sure, here. Have this. Use this. It'll get you out of the blues. I'd rather do it with joy or peace and calming or stress away. Because if I can choose between a manufactured, patented drug that has multiple side effects for which I would need to take another manufactured, patented drug, okay, go figure that. I really don't think the pharmaceutical companies are in the practice of healing. I think they are in the practice of making customers. That's my personal thought. You don't have to share it, but that's just my belief. And then illegal drugs that are made with things like toxic chemicals, bleach, ammonia, oven cleaner, there's no way I'm putting that in my system. I'm not letting that stuff get in my brain. I don't even use oven cleaner at home. No. I use essential oils to clean my oven. Yeah. I choose plant-based, natural, organic essential oils from Young Living, from plants that are grown in chemical-free soil from carefully selected seeds. I'll take that every time. And you can bank on that. Because my brain is worth it. A lot of people may not think so, but I like my brain the way it is. I'm not going to alter it with drugs or pharmaceuticals. If I want to bring up a memory, I'll just remember the limbic system here. And if I'm feeling down, I'll grab a little Christmas spirit. If I'm feeling outdoorsy, I'll grab a little Northern Lights black spruce. If I want to feel a little happier, more cheerful, give me some jade lemon. Yeah. And if I'm feeling really, really depressed, or if I'm feeling like I'm overwhelmed with something, give me some stress away. I'll do that every time. I'm going to take another sip of Zing here, because that is so delicious. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Really appreciate it. If you're watching this on replay, punch in replay. If you have any questions or anything, you can pop them down here on the little list there, and I will get to them. Susie, I know you're there. Thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate seeing you here. And until next week. Next week? Yeah, we do have a class next week. And what's it on? Next week. Yeah, memory. That's... I was talking about memory this week, but next week it's about sharing, not selling. Because a lot of people think, oh, Young Living Essential Oils, every time I do a class, I'm selling oils. No, I'm not. I'm sharing oils. There's a difference. I'm not asking you to buy anything. I'm not asking you to join our team. I'm just sharing the information that my wife and I have, and that's our passion. I don't care if you buy anything. If you do, yeah, I'd love it if you went through us. But that's not my message. That's not my mission. Our mission, Lori and mine, is to share the knowledge that we have, to let people know that there are alternatives. There are other ways. If you're having memory issues, if you're having, emotional problems, try some essential oils before you get hooked on a prescription. That's all I'm saying. So until next week when we talk again, same bat time, same bat channel. Couldn't resist. Sorry. From Soaring Hawk Studios, I'm Jay Hawk. Take care. God bless.